Hi, Madeline.
Hi, Karlo.
Yeah, I would say welcome back, but you actually haven't been on this show yet.
Welcome for the first time.
Yeah,
Thank
welcome for the first time too.
you.
You've been on the main pod, and now we're here on the spin-off pod.
Started from the main pod, now we're here.
Yeah, and you'll be back on the main pod as well. So this isn't a relegation or anything, but
I would never think that.
it's great to have you. And I mean, our usual format on this show. My co-host Kay is not present right now, but what we usually do is we talk about the films that we've seen in the past week. But we're doing a special episode with our first guest. So you're actually the first ever guest on this show.
Wow!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome. That will never change. You will always be the first guest on Race Against the Watch List. That's the name of our spinoff.
I'm honored. Yeah. I like it.
But yeah, so instead of us just talking about what we've seen in the past week, also a first thing, I've never done this before. We actually did like a live online watch party of two films. We had a shot, then a chaser.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we started with a pumpkin movie, a short film by Sophy Romvari, and we capped it off with the main feature being Paterson by Jarmusch. Yeah. So we're definitely in the full vibes here.
Totally.
Yeah, and I'm happy that I got to share these two films with you because it was your first time seeing.
Yes.
Them, right.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
Were you a little scared about how I might react to them?
I'm past that point now. I used to.
You're secure.
Yeah.
You're secure in your appreciation.
Yeah. Maybe had you gotten up and said like, just keep it going, don't pause it. Just thinking. Maybe I should have. Yeah, I would be a little concerned, but. Yeah. I also feel like I read the room. I pay attention to the audience, so I wouldn't have asked you to watch these two if I didn't think that you would respond, positively to it or negatively. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, shall we get into it?
Yes.
All right. So let's start with Pumpkin Movie. How was that?
Pumpkin Movie shot. I loved it. I thought it was great. I wanted to confirm because I didn't look up who was in it or anything. I didn't know anything about it. The pink tank top girl who is you're mainly in her apartment and whatever. That's Sophy Romvari, right?
Correct. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. She's great. Does she do a lot of acting in her own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, she's also, I guess, the main protagonist, if you want to say that. I mean, it's strange to say for her type of film, but yeah, she's also the main person that you see mostly on camera on still processing.
Okay, I guess what I've heard of that it is about it's autobiographical, right? Of her family.
And I mean, this is too. I mean, it seems like, I mean, yeah. So if we're just gonna give the watchers, the audience at home, an idea of what the setup of the film is, it's just basically a Skype call between her and her friend, and she's in Toronto and her friend is in Halifax, which is a totally different province and more country, which they're comparing. And
right.
I completely forgot that the nature of their exchange while they're carving pumpkins was just all about their general sexist experiences.
Yeah, it's the purpose of their get-together, not only to carve the pumpkins, but I guess this is what they do while they carve. They share their recent instances of, sexism directed at them.
And yeah, one of the standout lines was that you seem to be experiencing a very Halifax type of
right
sexism,
right? Nature and tools and
exactly.
Oh my God.
Very specific to her region.
Yes. Which I didn't even realize. I guess I didn't know that it was like Canada and that Sophy Romvari did. Is she from Canada?
Yes, and that she's very proudly Canadian. Like,
cool.
Even see. Actually, I think she deleted her. She used to have a letterbox, or it's been hidden or something, or maybe unblocked. I don't know, but I can't find her letterbox profile anymore.
Dang, maybe she shut it down.
Yeah, maybe it's like, oh, it's more professional for me to be, just a persona. But I mean, if Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola have accounts,
right?
even
Sean Baker.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. And Sean Baker's actually a good example because he's actually there as a viewer. He's not like, Scorsese, where they use the app once and then they never log in again.
Right. And then they have their team.
Yeah.
Do stuff for this.
Sure. All that. Yeah. But yeah.
Right.
Sean Baker really is like an avid cinephile letterbox user. Like,
yeah.
Even down to like noting if it was shot on film or what gear they used,
Yeah.
Shit.
I like to read his stuff, even if I don't know. Like I would know like what an Aeroflex camera would be looking like or whatever. Exactly. But it's cool.
He's passionate and he's nerding out about.
Yeah, he's a craftsperson.
Right, and then the other, I guess, underlying motif that goes on with the types of films that he logs that everybody notices when you follow him is that, oh man, he's seen a lot of exploitation films.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a big thing.
Cinephile diet.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'd love to know what people's little proclivities are.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, wait. So, Sophy Romvari, Canada. I've been having a Canada day.
Yeah, and then also deliberately fall vibes. And Halloween looming large over it too.
True.
Yeah, so it's such a simple conversation, but the thing about the film that really, and just even watching it again, that I got to appreciate even more is the setups, right? Like you're saying that it's mainly through her point of view because we're in her apartment. We never go outside of Skype with her friend, we only see her friend through and I thought that was very appropriate that we were on FaceTime watching the film. So there was a meta thing. And then even just the whole, when you're starting to do the setup and stuff that you're kind of coordinating, I even like that thing. That's part of it as well.
Yes.
And yeah, just the different shots that we get. So we get a wide shot of her, especially when she's carving the pumpkin. But then there's that extra shot, which is just a little closer. And that's what I'm curious about in terms of the making of it. Because if you have multiple cameras just set up and it was just her, or was there a crew in that apartment?
Yeah. Good question. And there was a big window behind her.
Yeah, with the skyline.
Yeah, which I don't know if would have been able to like see anybody in the window because it was like
right. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, but reflection.
Would you be able to? I guess you would because it'd be dark, right?
Right. Yeah. True.
So maybe it was
the TV screen as well.
Yeah, which I was gonna ask. Do you know what the movie was that she had on?
I do.
What is it?
I was gonna ask you if you could recognize it, but
I can't.
So, it's a silent film. That's one thing. Actually, this particular silent film is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. It came out in 1924. What a great movie year, too, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so 100 years ago it came out, and it was... and
it's like...
Say that again.
It's spooky theme. It is like a horror movie, right?
Actually,
it's like a spooky...
not, but it is... No? I want to say it is a morality tale with horrific consequences.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I'm building up to it. So yeah, it was produced by Louis B. Mayer, so MGM.
Jake.
Famously Hacked to Bits. That's the film that they use, Hacked to Bits.
Nice.
Do you know what film I'm talking about?
No.
Not ringing a bell? Okay. It was
No.
Greed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I have seen that movie.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, you just have to look closely. You'll see there's the part where, they had the baby. So that's the scene that's shown in it.
Gotcha.
But I don't think you see the finale, in the Death Valley sequence, which, was really like hell to shoot, apparently. Like, it was like record temperatures in Death Valley during the time that they shot it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that was crazy.
Yeah, so interesting choice by her to pick Greed as the film to have on the background.
I know.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah. If we're like thinking about it thematically, maybe it's men being horrible. Like that's the connection.
That's the theme, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it would be too on the nose if she was watching like Miss 45 or something like that.
Yeah, a little bit. Right.
Yeah. Or I Spit on Your Graves. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just men being horrible to other men. Greed.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah. And yeah, it's just funny too because it being a 10-minute short film, the film also, like Greed itself being, originally, like, supposedly, we can never confirm that now, but it was the first cut that I think von Stroheim presented was 10 hours. And then he cut it down to 6. And then finally, like, MGM cut it down to 2.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine how thorough his adaptation of McTeague, that's the book that it's based on.
Really?
Is. And it's not even a thick novel. It's actually it's like a standard, like probably not more than 200 pages.
Oh my God.
You managed to make a 10-hour film out of it.
He made a mini-series. He made the first mini-series.
Yeah. I mean, every film he made was epic back in the day. And very few of them like exist as they were. I remember TCM also, and that's the other distinction too I'd like to say related to the short is that she's watching the non-TCM cut.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that TCM restoration that they did in the 90s was awful. It was so bad because
why?
It was an attempt to basically piece it back together again based on von Stroheim's script. But obviously the footage didn't exist anymore because they melted it for the silver. Like, that's
shit. Yeah.
Like they just basically cut it against his wishes because he didn't have director's cut. So Louis B. Mayer was like, yeah, like all that useless footage you shot, we just melted it down and turned it into silver.
They would. Wow, that's so wild.
Yeah, so but I could distinguish that it was not the TCM cut because the title cards that show up were still the old title cards.
Okay.
They repurposed them and replaced them, and then they also added color. And for the scenes that that they didn't have the footage for, it was really annoying when they would cut to it because it would just be a still and then a description of what happened in the scene.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see that.
I've seen something else that had that. Yeah. Weird.
And just in general, I think when footage that was previously gone, even if they do find it, but it's like in terrible condition, I'd rather they just not put it back. Like that's how I felt about the Once Upon a Time in America footage stored. Like, yeah, I'm fine without it being there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so what's your verdict on Pumpkin Movie?
Loved it. I love it. It's very natural. Like I feel like that's actually her friend. I assume it's actually her friend.
There's a familiarity there.
Yeah, I love seeing tech on screen, which Skype already feels sort of like supplanted by other video calling
Right.
programs now, and to hear the like Skype log off sound at the end is very charming to me. It reminds me of that movie Unfriended, that horror movie where it like all takes place on Skype, I think.
Yeah, I think Skype was like a sponsor of the film.
Oh my god. I am charmed that that's like a time capsule that we have, and this reminded me of that. But yeah, and then I really liked to see at the end of Pumpkin movie the card that was like thanks to like all these people and their stories, and even though not necessarily like every single story made it into the movie, but clearly she like sourced these real life experiences from her friends and people that she knows. And I know, I just thought that it was like a really nice tribute to her friends, and I like that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I mentioned that in my review of the film, and I also mentioned that to you off record, that I recognized one of the names. It was Chloe Brill. And yeah, I knew Chloe before she transitioned. So yeah, the stories though, she had posted stuff about that, like post transition, about the harassment that she would receive as a woman. So yeah, I'm not surprised that I didn't put two and two together, that it was, oh yeah, maybe one of those might have been her story. I was just like, oh, it's Chloe, like it's great to see her name on there, you know.
Yeah. My friends.
My initial reaction, I was like, oh yeah, maybe there was something that had happened to her, because she had shared it before on because we're Facebook friends, so she had shared it on there, but she's not as active on it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was interested actually, because you're saying like you didn't think about how one of these things might have happened to her, and it is like it is sort of like a casual situation in which these stories are being shared, because it is such like a part of a daily life of just like being a woman, and sometimes you get together and you just like chat about this shit, and it's so it is sort of like an interesting remove a little bit that you get, and then you see at the end it's like, oh, these are real people that these things happen to, and it's happening all the time to everyone. And yeah, I don't know, it's really interesting. Thumbs up on Pumpkin movie.
Absolutely. And yeah, I just say too, even despite the subject matter of what they're discussing, there's also just something oddly comforting about the atmosphere of the film.
It is.
It's candlelit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's cozy.
See, yeah, exactly. That's the word I was thinking of too.
They're kind of like having a good time together, even though what they're sharing is like, you know, not the good times of their lives. But it's homey and warm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely am. I haven't gotten around to it, but I definitely want to watch the rest of Sophy Romvari's.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I've seen Still Processing, so I'm definitely recommending that to you.
Sweet, yeah. Gonna watch it. I'm gonna go chronological probably in that little collection.
Yeah, and it's also been in the news, or I guess people who are in the know, that she's working on our first feature now. So
sweet.
Too.
I gotta get it in before then.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, when could that possibly be coming?
I know. I'm sure it's probably going to be within the next year. Maybe in time for Toronto, the next year.
All right. Here's hoping. Yeah. Nice.
All right. So from Pumpkin movie, we go to Pumpkin poem. I forgot that there was a poem titled Pumpkin.
I know. Did I say pumpkin when it came up? Because I was like, oh yeah, pumpkin pie.
Right. And I think I started reciting the poem along that one. Like, yeah, I just remember that poem so much. But yeah.
What's your top poem in Paterson? Sorry to get right into it.
I want you to answer that too right after me. Oh God. So it's interesting. I want to qualify it by saying that some of the poems in it, Ron Padgett had already written before the film, and like I guess Jim Jarmusch handpicked it. And then there were certain poems that were um, completely like written for the film.
Gotcha.
And you can tell because some of them are, he talks about being in the house and that, he had to run upstairs, you know, and it's like the house doesn't have stairs. Well, it does actually for the basement, but yeah. But I think in the poem, it just doesn't make sense in the geography of the house, because that poem had already existed.
Gotcha.
So. And then the one that I love the most is the one that I always come back to is actually, I believe it's the first poem that we hear.
Matches. The blue tip.
Love poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ohio blue tip matches.
That image is great.
Yeah.
And like, it's a combination of those matches have awesome graphic design, but then also yeah, as like an anchoring image of the poem, I think it's really lovely.
Yeah, the megaphone, as if like it's announcing Great Balls of Fire.
Sick. Ooh, I like that cover.
Yeah, it's great. This is actually, I think, a reprint of it. This isn't the first edition. But look at this. It's actually signed.
Oh, rad.
Yeah. And there's a photo of him on the back.
That's awesome. Oh.
Yeah, and I got this for $5 with the signature.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, because after seeing the film, I really got into his poetry. I'd never heard of him before, but yeah, the simplicity of that style. I just I started seeking out his books, and then it led me to this poetry, a bookstore that focuses primarily on poetry. Like a large part of their inventory is just poetry books.
Nice.
And they're called Beyond Baroque, but they also have because that's the name of the actual center. It's a performing arts center that happens to have a bookstore.
Oh, cool.
Is called, I think, the Scott Weinberg bookstore. And the reason why it's called that is because Scott Weinberg is actually a poet, but he didn't name the store after himself. It was actually after the secret benefactor who I'm gonna out.
Yeah.
Nobody watches the show, and if they do, it's like, okay, well, you heard it here first.
Wait, secret? Why do you know this secret?
Well, that's also part of the reason why I have this signed book for $5 from Padgett. So
okay.
So this bookstore, it was actually in trouble at one point. Like it was about to close. And then this benefactor stepped in to rescue the bookstore from closing.
Okay.
His only rule was that he was going to pay their bills or whatever it was to keep the lights on. Was that they had to name it the Scott Weinberg School, the Scott Weinberg bookstore.
Okay, interesting.
And you're probably gonna, if you didn't love him before, you're probably gonna love him even more now because this secret benefactor happens to be Viggo Mortensen.
No shit. What?
Yeah. Yes.
Wait, that's so wild. He's just like a poetry fan. He's a big Scott Weinberg fan.
Yeah. That, and I think it's his friend, so that's why he wanted the bookstore named after him.
That is cute.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Viggo's like a whole like Renaissance man. You know, he appreciates the arts. If you've ever seen his Criterion Closet,
I haven't. That's cool.
And he directed the film this year. I think it's his second feature.
Okay, I heard about that. Yeah, did you see that?
No, I didn't. Yeah, because
I'm interested. Yeah,
with Vicky Creeps from
right, classic Alma.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and also another strange coincidence. It's Viggo Mortensen's birthday tomorrow.
No, your birthday buds?
Like yeah, we're birthday buds.
That rules.
Yeah. Also Bella Lugosi.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Danny Boyle. It's also his birthday tomorrow.
You have a lot of cinematic ones.
Yeah, my actually the one I feel the strongest kinship with in terms of my birthday twins is Jean-Pierre Melville.
Wow. Whoa. Okay. Heavy hitter. That's cool.
The Attraction to Silence. And then another strange birthday twin that's he's not quite cinematically linked directly, but it's just like by pure cosmic coincidence. There's a tennis player named Andrei Rublev.
No shit.
Yeah, his birthday is October 20th.
Wow,
His name is Andrei Rublev.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
damn.
Strange connections, yeah. But yeah, so long story short with that, I discovered this bookstore. I saw all these poetry books, and I met the guy who was the proprietor of the store, who runs it, and he keeps track of the inventory and stuff. And he was telling me, "Oh yes, who are some of your favorite poets? Because we might not have them like on the shelf. They might be in the warehouse or something, and then I can just let you know. Like you can come in and." Yeah, he told me he found a bunch of Ron Padgett books in the back.
Sick.
And they were signed. And some of them were first edition. This isn't a first edition, but he did give me another one. So I have two of them. And the other one is the first edition.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so this is my reading copy of it. And
wow.
Yeah, let's actually see if there's any poems from Paterson in here. No.
Cool. Nice.
Like a classic painting.
I like that.
This one is How Long?
Cool. Oh, shoes.
Yeah, I'm for sure I know there's a Paterson poem in this one.
Okay, there's totally a shoe thing going on in Paterson, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't decided what I think about it yet, but I was like, a lot of shoe shots in here.
What was it that she said that does it help you drive the bus?
Oh my God, yeah.
Big feet. Driving this massive machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So Glow is in this. Do you remember?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I can read the first couple of lines so you remember.
Go for
when
it.
I wake up earlier than you, and you are turned to face me, face on the pillow and hair spread around, I take a chance and stare at you, amazed in love and afraid that you might open your eyes and have the daylight scared out of you. Yeah, it's great. That's good. I mean, the last line of the poem is awesome. It's, here we go. I tie my shoes and go downstairs and put the coffee on.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, so this is a poem that existed before the film because there's no well, there is a downstairs, but it's the basement. He doesn't go downstairs.
I see. Right.
Yeah, because they live in a one-story house with a basement, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff. But it all fits in.
Yes.
Even the city of Paterson that's depicted in the film is not how Paterson is. Well,
really? Oh no, I'm disabused of a very charming image of Paterson. Well, damn.
I recently, actually on our main pod, I did an episode on Stranger Than Paradise.
Cool.
With Marcus. And that was one of the things that we were talking about was just how Jarmusch establishes a sense of place. So he might use the name of a place, like say New Orleans in Down by Law, or even New York, Cleveland, and Florida in Stranger Than Paradise, where it's supposed to give you a sense of that place. And it's also, I guess, a perspective on that place, but it isn't necessarily the realistic, like beat by beat, everything is exactly where you find it.
Sure.
The whole thing I discovered about Paterson, and Jarmusch was asked this too when he was doing Q&As promoting the film, is that, it's a very different city. Even though it's shot in that city, they basically selected certain places that they were going to shoot. I mean, Paterson's bus route is actually the actual bus route that bus takes, the number 23. It goes along Main Street.
Wait, so it is shot in Paterson?
It is, yeah. So all the locations are Paterson. He didn't change that. The one thing that I guess some people were questioning was like, oh yeah, there's a very big Latino population in Paterson, and we don't really see much of them in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But that's just it. He wasn't trying to produce an accurate portrait or like a documentary of what Paterson is. It's more, it exists in this magic realist realm.
Sure.
I mean, we pretty much established that at the beginning, where he's just seeing all these twins after his. That,
Right.
I'm not even sure what is their relationship. What do you think, Madeline? What are they? Are they boyfriend girlfriend or are they married?
Oh yeah. Great question. I guess I assumed. What did I assume? I think I assumed that they were just dating. Yeah. But like a long time and like, I mean, like exclusive and like whatever. Like I felt like it was, for all intents and purposes, like they were, like it was like they were married.
Right.
And then she had a dream about having children. And so it was like, in the air on their minds.
Right.
But they don't really like go deeper into that.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that was an ambiguous thing, because this specific viewing, I was observing their left hand to see if they had the ring.
Oh, smart.
And neither
Did
of
they?
them did.
Okay. Yeah.
So
They're kind of like a bohemian artist couple also. So maybe they don't. Maybe they wouldn't.
They don't believe in the institution of marriage.
Yeah, they don't need it.
Yeah, they're common law married since
right
for tax purposes.
Kind of my thought.
Yeah, because I guess the one thing though that I guess is uncommon in their arrangement is that Paterson obviously drives a bus every day. He has that job, but Laura doesn't seem to be working. Like, she's a stay-at-home partner.
She seems like she's a full-time artist. She's an artist, and then like this thing where she's making cupcakes for this bake sale, or is it a bake sale, or is it like a garage sale?
Yeah, it's a farmer's market.
Farmer's market.
She gets a booth.
Right. It seems like maybe she like does stuff for money once in a while. I was kind of like intrigued by the drawing of that character. I'm still thinking about like how I felt about it, but obviously the movie.
Can I say? Go ahead.
I think it's obvious that the movie is about Adam Driver's character.
Yeah.
And like while their relationship is like a big part of the plot, it's not really also about her as a character. And I think that her character serves to support his character mainly. So whatever is going on with her, if maybe a little bit less attention was paid to the details of her character, I could see that being a thing, just because like I think it's clear that it's not about her.
Right. Yeah. And everything is always just seen through Paterson's perspective, because even the bits where it shows her alone at home painting and stuff, it's through his imagination. Because, he's driving and that helps the time pass. Right. I love that little device of the wristwatch that start moving quicker. He's imagining. Yeah, so I think there's certain details that are deliberately left vague, and that falls into creating this mythical place that is Paterson. And I became so obsessed with this film that I actually made several trips to Paterson, and I call it a pilgrimage.
No shit. Wait, that's cool.
Tales from Paterson. Yeah, because it's not an easy town to get to. Like, you from New York City, like there's no direct train that goes there, so you have to make a couple of transfers to even just get there. And then
is that
say that?
I was just gonna ask about the waterfall. That's theoretically outside of there, but I guess I don't know that there's a waterfall.
It actually is in Paterson. Like it.
Cool.
So the city is very small. Like you could walk around it in less than an hour. Like
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it has like a main town center, and then it's surrounded by houses. So that's the neighborhood. But what I did was I tried to recreate his daily walk to see if it was possible to do it. So I start at the bus depot, which is really there, and it's actually not too far from the waterfall. So I started to make my way towards the waterfalls. The only problem was that at that time when I was going, that whole part that gives you the best view of the waterfalls, where that bench that he sits down on, that was closed for renovation. So there was a big part of the path that I couldn't access. So like, I couldn't access that part where he walks through that factory, and then there's that other part of the waterfall that goes down. So I couldn't walk through that area because it was I guess they were renovating stuff and bulldozers and stuff, moving land about. So
they didn't even know about the pilgrimage.
right, and also the other funny thing is that within that location, the tourist office or the city of Paterson visitor information office is right there. And I asked them about that. It's like, yeah, that there was a, do you know about the film that was shot here? And they're like, yeah, we know about it, but they haven't seen it. And then I was like, this is a missed opportunity. Like, why you should be doing tours of the locations featured in the film? Like, there should be a Paterson walking tour,
Yeah, really. It would be like really nice. And
and then you get to take the bus too. You take the bus 23. So that's part of the experience. But yeah, so I tried to emulate the walk as close as I could. The problem was once I got to that, there's that part where he curves around, and it's never a single shot because the house is somewhere else. I could not find that house for the life of me because I was looking for the pink door because that's the thing.
Oh sure, yes.
And the mailbox that
crooked mail.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they just shot that somewhere else, that it isn't in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, everything else was there. And the other thing was that, when I followed the bus route along Main Street, that architecture there of the old like government buildings there. And then I actually even went to the mall where the movie theater was as well. So that also exists. Yeah, that's awesome. The one thing that the film doesn't show is that there's also a really large homeless population in Paterson. Yes. So especially along Main Street, that was a thing. And then the city is just not doing well, which is sad. And, it's too bad that this film, because I guess it's so small scale and only real fans know about it. It didn't bring that influx. There's no Paterson pilgrimages going on other than me. Yeah.
Just a self-guided pilgrimage. But that is very interesting. I thought maybe it would have been bigger because of the Amazon thing, but maybe not.
But it was a weird first wave of the Amazon films because they basically had given all their directors carte blanche because they wanted to emulate Netflix.
Right.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, well, let's get these big directors and just give them whatever they want for the passion project. So I think the first ever Amazon film to come out was Chirac from Spike Lee.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so this followed, and then later on, like in 2017, Wonderstruck came out, and then, there was a shift because they realized, these films don't make any money, so we have to make more Jack Ryan shit.
Oh my God! Don't even.
And I mean, now ironically enough, we were mentioning MGM earlier from Greed. Amazon now owns MGM and all their properties. So,
talk about greed.
I know, right? Yeah, and so they also technically can co-op James Bond, you know. So
Oh shit! Oh wow!
Bond's James Bond.
Ew,
That's
that sounds
yeah.
terrible.
But at least they got something right with this film. The other thing though that they did it dirty and was that how it was released. We had been talking about when is really the film's release year. So it was doing the festivals in 2016, but surprisingly, considering how much Jim Jarmusch is a mainstay in New York, it's his city. He wasn't in the New York Film Festival. This film wasn't a New York Film Festival entry for some reason.
Wow, that seems like a huge fuck up.
Right. And I don't know if we can blame Amazon, but so Amazon released it on, and I remember this because I was there. Like I lived through this. They released that on December 28th of 2016. So the very last possible release date you could have.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, it was December 26th. So I had to, 28th. So I had to wait until the very end of the year. And then, succeedingly, like as it crossed over into January, I watched it several more times because, that first time I saw it, I was blown away. I mean, Jim Jarmusch is one of my favorite filmmakers, but I wasn't really, like, I guess I'd fallen out of favor with him a little bit because of, the recent stuff that he was making. So he didn't seem like he was that in it, even though I did enjoy Only Lovers Left Alive. It just didn't feel like he was completely engaged, and
that might have been the first Jim Jarmusch movie that I saw.
Okay, that's
weirdly.
That's strange.
So I didn't have anything to like compare it to.
Got it. Yeah.
So I might have had a different reaction. I liked it.
Yeah, and I mean, it also has something in common with this film because, Tilda Swinton's character Eve is also really into books. So, I mentioned that before we started recording that I got so obsessed with this film too that I listed all of the books that Paterson has in his library.
That's amazing.
Like the one that's on his bedside.
You should set up the shelf the way that his is.
Well, so here's the thing. Another crazy thing. This is how obsessed I got with the film. I'll send you some of the photos where I recreated some of the images from the film.
Oh my god.
The bookshelf.
Whoa.
Of the ones that I had, basically, because some of them I had already had, so I was like, okay, this is perfect. Or some I deliberately sought out. So one of the discoveries that was great was Soul of the Octopus. Highly recommend this book. It's one of my favorite books now, and
cool.
It is about octopi and how they're one of the smartest animals in the world, and that even though it would be a nice dream to own one, like to have as a pet, it's almost impossible.
Would it?
No, because they're adorable. And, like,
where would you fit? I mean, yes, they are adorable.
Yeah, so first of all, you have to have a massive tank to keep it in because it needs to move around. The other thing is that you have to have a lid that's weighted that it can't lift off because it's so smart that it can lift off a lid.
Oh shit.
Out.
Yeah.
And, it can only exist outside the water for, a certain amount of time before, it starts to suffocate. And then on top of that, the water in the tank has to be salt water. It's not a freshwater animal. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah. So low maintenance.
Yeah.
Much like the rest of us.
Yeah.
We get it.
Right. So.
Wow.
But yeah, that's one of the books that's great in his library. But the one book that shows up in Only Lovers Left Alive that also shows up in Paterson is Infinite Jest.
I saw that. I was gonna note that in this. And I was like, of course.
Yeah, because that's one of my favorite scenes in in Only Lovers Left Alive when Eve packs and all her luggage is just books in different languages too, and that she's like, because I tend to do that too. If I'm packing away books, I tend to just browse through them again before putting them away, you know.
Sure.
She packs Infinite Jest.
Amazing. Classic travel read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really got deep into this film, and I think this time around, and especially because I saw it in such close proximity to Stranger Than Paradise, and yeah, I had to go back and watch it a couple of times. So I saw it 3 times in the theater in its original run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the second time was just to see, is it really that good? And I was like, yes, it is. And then the third time, funnily enough, was a second date with a girl.
And how was that?
Okay. Oh, man. Well, obviously, I'm still single now, so...
Oh, man, but from that one date?
Well, yeah, in a moment in time, it seemed like everything was going really well. So we had an amazing first date. And then I told her about this film, and she seemed interested. So I was like, yeah, why don't we do that for the second date? Let's watch Paterson. I'll take care of everything. So, yeah, I take her to it. And I guess this was early days. Like, she was probably only my second ever date from a dating app, you know? So I was just starting to get into it. But, you know, I was in love. I was just like, yeah, she's the one, you know?
Wow. All right. Yep.
Yeah, because I had no experience. I just thought that, okay, she was one of my first matches. You know, we seemed to hit it off, even though I guess there were certain discrepancies. Like, she initially wanted to meet in a bar, and I don't really drink. So there was that. And then I also asked her, okay, if we do meet in a bar, can we meet in a bar that doesn't play loud music? And she's like, oh, that's a shame because one of my favorite bars plays loud music. That's okay. But
she did not want to talk. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but surprisingly she did. And, you know, she was studying Latin at NYU. So,
wow.
Yeah, a dead language.
Interesting.
You know. I saved Latin. What did you ever do?
Waste.
Yeah, so I should have said that more. But also,
shit.
you know, related to you, Madeline, she was very Michigan coded.
Really?
She was from what's a coastal town in Michigan?
I mean, there's a lot. Like Traverse City or like Charlevoix.
Like it actually had a beach. Right.
Yeah. I mean, Petoskey, Charlevoix.
Why am I blanking on the name? It doesn't sound like those cities, but she was from
Was it on like a Great Lake? You don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but yeah.
There is a hell of a lot of coastline in Michigan, so it could be a lot of things.
Yeah, she was from Michigan. So we really hit it off talking about Grosse Pointe Blank.
Classic.
Yeah. And she was also, at that time, she was due for her high school reunion. So,
really?
Yeah. So I quoted that line from Grosse Pointe Blank that made her laugh was I killed the president of Paraguay with a fork. How have you been? Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so it was very Michigan coded. As you say.
Yep.
Yeah. So brunette, like she wore glasses, like totally my type. And then she was into Paterson. So she watched the film,
so she liked it.
She loved it. Yeah, and then we even had like a longish like walk afterwards. Like I showed her some of my favorite spots around New York. In downtown. And but yeah, I guess I was just so I was lacking game, Madeline. That was my problem. That there were several
You think it was you?
Oh yeah, it was totally me.
Okay.
I fumbled that badly. So
gotcha.
You know, had I known, well, I knew, I could sense that she was also into me because I saw her off to her doorstep because after the first date at the bar, she lived nearby. It was walking distance from our apartment. So when I saw her off, there was an opportunity to kiss her, and I didn't take it. And we just had that hug and then like an awkward smile. And then, I thought I was being like a polite gentleman.
Maybe you were. Maybe that's what she was feeling.
But no, I feel like she was hoping for a kiss. Like I can see it in my flashback right now. She had her eyes closed and she there was definitely like she was kind of expecting it, and I didn't do it. And I was on cloud nine after that date. And then the second date, actually one of the first details that threw me off was that, when she was checking her messages, I guess she was looking for my message. I just saw that my text was just my phone number. Like she didn't save my name, and I guess that really just threw me off. For some reason, I was like, why haven't you saved my name in your phone? Like, why am I still just like an anonymous number?
I mean, you only had one date, right?
Right, exactly.
And you met on an app?
Yeah, on Tinder. And, I understand that better now, but, because of my inexperience and all that during that time. And I blew it. So even though I took it to all these places that I liked and it was this magical thing, there was another opportunity to kiss her actually when we went to the sea coral merry-go-round.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So it's all like shapes that are inspired by coral and fish.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And the magical thing that happened was that it wasn't turned on when we walked towards it, and then it turned on as soon as we
okay.
And that would have been it, the movie moment, right? To kiss her. And then, we had just seen this film that's a very romantic film. And she was saying too that after we saw it that, I can't wait to see it again. Yeah, so she was already looking forward to it. So I'm like, yeah, this is really a keeper. Because, maybe I was treating it like a test to see that, if she likes it, then, I'm going to propose.
It's your deal maker. It's it trumps all red flags.
Yeah, and we were talking
liking
about
Paterson.
Yeah, I would say Paterson is actually, if Ritual is more the quirky choice where I'd be like, it's more like something where I respect the person for having this as their favorite film. But if they said Paterson was their favorite film, I'm getting down on one knee. I mean, that's just it. It's over.
Right.
I'm marrying the girl who, it's almost like, Letterboxd related, the couple that loved, what was that shit movie that they both liked? So they met on Letterboxd and they ended up getting married. They were the what couple? Oh my God, why am I blanking on it? But the Mank couple. So they met on Mank.
Oh.
Yeah.
They loved Mank.
Yes.
Okay, to each their own. Exactly. I'm glad they found each other.
All right, but
glad the two Mank fans in the world found each other.
And who knows, right? Like later on when we hear about their divorce, that he was actually pretending the whole time.
Oh my God.
But like in the heat of passion, like during an argument, he's like, "No, I fucking hate Mank." Like it's just. I only said that because I thought you were cute and I liked your profile picture.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've yet to meet somebody who loves Paterson as much as I do. But, it's that whole reflexiveness because in a way, the film is what my ideal of a relationship would be. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Of just that you kind of respect each other's passions. You go pursue your thing. There's some sort of, I guess, division of things. Because even though, we were talking about what does Laura exactly do, she also cooks for Paterson, when he comes back home with her experimental cooking.
True.
Famously, the the pie, the cheddar cheese and Brussels
cheddar cheese and Brussels sprouts pie, where it looks like she did not even chop the sprouts. They seemed whole.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say that I was sort of puzzling over the way that Paterson reacted to a lot of things that Laura did. He seems almost like a little befuddled by her a lot. And he it ends up then being like he accepts like her, the whim of her getting a guitar, which pans out like that's a positive thing. He doesn't love the pie, but it's so that he seems to appreciate the attempt of having it made for him. But yeah, there are some moments when like they're talking on the couch and she's like being herself and he sort of looks at her in a way that's kind of like puzzled almost. And I was just sort of like intrigued by that little bit where he's kind of like doesn't really get her, but like likes it. Like he's like into it in some way. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting and specific.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the wrinkles of the film that I enjoy a lot, is that it's not particularly clear if he's just trying to please her and he just wants everything to be, smooth and, without any conflict, or whether, because there are certain parts of Adam Driver that are, tied into this film because you pointed it out at the beginning when we see his nightstand. He has his marine photo, and it's actually his, photo. So I think they tie that into his character, that Paterson is a bus driver who joined the Marines. I've never seen it, but I've seen thumbnails of Adam Driver has a TED talk about why he joined the Marines. So I'm curious actually. His reasoning for it is.
Interesting.
That it's within him that he can do these technical manual labor type of deals, but then at the same time, because I think he's had regular jobs before he became an actor as well.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, but he has this artistic spirit, and this was, I think, the start of it too, because previous to this, I guess the closest thing that he had done that was I want to say artistically valuable was his small part in Inside Llewyn Davis. He's part of the band.
Well, he was in Girls.
Right, yeah. So there's Girls, but I don't really count Girls because it's...
You don't count Girls?
Yeah, because it's right finally in the tunnel.
He plays a fascinating character in Girls.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, I've seen certain clips, he's... He's got that gawky, awkward charm about him.
He is very odd in that, in Girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One of the first times we see him, it's like Lena Dunham visiting him and then they end up having sex or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
That's like one of the first times we see him. So they have that situationship. And,
right.
And then, I've seen a clip of him where... I guess an older woman is flirting with him, and she's like asking, "Oh, how tall are you?" Must be nice to be 6'2". Yeah, and that figures into this film too, because he's kind of a gentle guy, but he is also like an imposing figure. You see him when he leaves the apartment or the house, or when Laura measures her foot against his shoe, and she's
right,
half of it, like he has a big feet.
Yep.
And
he's a big guy.
Yeah, so I think any kind of aggression or potential violence is he represses it. Maybe it was because of his training from the military, from the Marines. And then, he'll only use it when necessary, and that happens later on in the film.
With the gun.
Yes, that only shoots.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you have kind
That's a good point.
Carmen situation with that subplot with William Jackson Harper. Because he even says the Carmen line. He says that if I can't have you, no one can.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did Adam Driver learn how to drive a bus for this?
Yes, actually, that's a funny trivia thing about the film is that they had hired they had I guess enrolled him for lessons to drive in the bus, but he had already gone out and done it on his own. So by the time he showed up, he was already prepared.
Wow, he would.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Just going back to that thread of when he just, I mean, this was the first thing I ever saw in a movie where I was, okay, I'm convinced now. I buy into Adam Driver as an actor. Because I was initially skeptical about it. It's like Jim Jarmusch casting Adam Driver in this film. And it was one of those things, too, that he used Adam Driver first before he appeared in the Star Wars films. And it's the same thing with Bill Murray, that he had used Bill Murray in Broken Flowers before, even though it came out after, before Sofia Coppola did in Lost in Translation.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So he already had that instinct that these actors were going places, Bill Murray, his next phase. And then, with Adam Driver, it just, he ended up being, Leos Carax's Annette, and then
I was gonna say, I mean, I think he's proven himself to be a serious guy with a quirky taste.
Yeah, and he was going to take a little break from acting until Francis Ford Coppola called and asked him to be Caesar Catalina in
oh boy,
cause celeb.
The role of a lifetime.
Megalopolis. So yeah, he's still going. I mean, we're now, I guess, I can't believe this film is now 8 years old. We're 8 years
This one, yeah.
Paterson.
That's wild.
Yeah, and he's added all of these roles. He was in Silence. He's kind of gained this reputation too of these directors who have had these long gestating passion projects, like getting them made. So Silence was one of them, Megalopolis, obviously, and then what was the other one? The Don Quixote, Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the Terry Gilliam film. So it's almost like he has that bankability for some reason, where that's gonna get your film greenlit, is if you have Adam Driver in it. Yeah, so good for him, and I'm glad that this was the genesis of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't hear, Madeline. What was your favorite poem?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let me think. I mean, I like the matches imagery a lot, but I want to say I don't want to copy you. So let me. What was the one that he started writing at the end?
It's The Line. That one was
The Line
for the film. Yeah,
I like it. I like that one.
Would you rather?
And I liked his whole exchange. Yeah, I liked his whole exchange with the Japanese poet at the end.
Right,
well.
Who's played by Masatoshi Nagase.
Do you know him?
He was the young Japanese guy in Mystery Train.
Oh, rad!
Yeah, that was.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, we see them separately in two different Jarmusch films as older people. So that's him, and then the Yuki Kudo, who plays the girlfriend, she shows up in Limits of Control.
Cool. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's probably one of Jim Jarmusch's more maligned films.
Really?
But yeah, it's not his worst film. I mean, the worst film really is The Dead Don't Die, the last film he's made. he needs to make
Which I haven't
'cause
seen.
that can't be lost. Yeah, don't bother with the Dead Don't Die, which also has Adam Driver in it,
Right.
but it doesn't work this time around. The magic could not be recaptured. But yeah, and I would say too, like, I would be willing to concede Love Poem to you, and I would pick another one as my favorite as well. That's
Which one? Which
Another
other one?
that's what
Oh, another one.
yeah, another one. You know, it's
I
the
remember.
one where he's
Yeah.
talking about you know, when you're a child, you learn of 3 dimensions. You know,
Right.
and then later on, you learn of a 4th one.
Was there one called Was there one called The Run? Did I make that up?
Yeah, The Run is great too. That's the one that's describing the windshield wipers on the bus.
I like that one too. Yeah.
The, what is it? There's plenty of molecules. Like, yeah, I think it mentions that.
Yes.
Yeah, that one was written specifically for the film as well. So you think like the ones that were actually
I
native,
guess.
so.
Did he also write the poem that the little girl wrote?
No, okay. So here's a cool bit of trivia. So that was actually written by Jim Jarmusch.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's cool. I like that one.
yeah, I don't know if you know this, but Jim Jarmusch originally wanted to be a poet. That was his aspiration. And then
Oh, wow.
cinema led him astray. So he actually had to he went to NYU with a degree in poetry. Or I think he went to Columbia actually for undergrad, and then he transferred to NYU for film, or he did that as his master's. And so yeah, I think that was it actually. He was studying poetry, and one of the things that happened during his study was that they took a trip to France. And then when he went, he discovered the Cinémathèque Française and watched a bunch of films there, and just got caught up in the passion of filmmaking and switched careers.
That'll do it.
Yeah, but I was always curious because he still wrote poetry. And yeah, this is the other thing that I like breaking down about the film is the how it's connected to him, because this is probably Jim Jarmusch's most personal film. I mean, Only Lovers Left Alive is also very personal. But this one specifically because of the poetry aspect, and that he it's almost him, it's his sense of humor that, okay, my poetry is only worthy to be written by a 10-year-old girl. But it sounds like a 10-year-old girl's poem, because I'm sure, he still probably writes, but it's just for himself. Like he doesn't, that's the first time I think anybody's heard of any poem written by Jim Jarmusch, and it's through a character. And,
I think it's a great poem.
Yeah. And that was one of the things actually one of my close friends came away from when he saw this film, because he also loved it. Shout out to Scott. So Scott told me that, this film is basically, it encourages people to, everyone should write poetry, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else should read it or hear it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But as an exercise, like a personal exercise, and in the way that it makes you think about the world around you and relate to it, I think that it's healthy.
Yeah. And because also similar to, I guess, I'm now only making this connection, but Stranger Than Paradise, the reason why that was my favorite Jim Jarmusch film for the longest time was because it's the film that convinced me that it was possible to make films. And, because it's so simple in the way that it's done, and it didn't really take a lot to make it. And it's a testament to the film that it's so great that it's not like I'm shortchanging it. But it's the same with this, but in poetry terms. So it's like, oh, you can write poems that are just simple, everyday type of things that, even just as an exercise, just start with, an object that's on your desk and write about that. And I love how, Ron Padgett's poetry, he includes the little expressions, the interjections that we have. Like he'll include,
Right. Yeah. I liked that.
Yeah, the pause for thought, and that's just what his poetry is. That's why, I've collected every single Ron Padgett poetry book I can get my hands on, I get it, because it's just, he's built like this body of work that's been so consistent over the years. And even more impressive is that he, unlike Paterson, he actually is a person who makes a living writing poetry, that he's never had to have another job.
Right.
Yeah, because poetry was enough. And I think he was named poet laureate at a certain point.
Okay, cool.
So that certainly helped him. But I'm not sure how you really can make money off of poetry. I can't imagine like the books make that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess he must live off grants or something that they,
I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. But
The people that I know who work in publishing are always like, why bother with the poetry?
Exactly. But somehow Ron Padgett is one of those lucky ones who figured it out.
Then,
and yeah, it's just great. Like, he actually has a book that that teaches kids how to write poems.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and I think also a fellow poet in his group of, the New York School of Poets. I want to say it's Kenneth Koch. He also wrote a book of how, children can write poetry.
Nice.
So, yeah, and it had that effect on me. And I don't know, I want to ask you, Madeline, did this inspire you to write poems?
To write poems? Interesting.
Yeah. Have you ever written poems?
Only in school, when I was studying for an English degree. We had to take a couple of poetry classes, which I loved, like analyzing and like doing like line scansion and stuff. I loved poetry classes. When we had to write poetry, I liked it, but I don't know if it's the exact type of, although I mean, poetry can be anything.
Sure.
Doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to be metered. Doesn't have to look a certain way or be about anything. I don't know if I feel moved to write in that way over other ways. I feel like when I express myself through writing, it's not necessarily in poetry, but it made me want to read poetry again, which I don't do. Yeah.
I actually share that sentiment too, because I had mentioned that before we started recording, that I wanted to commit to a longer book. And this film finally settled that for me, that I was just like, yeah, it's time for me to read Paterson, the book, the book-length poem by William Carlos Williams.
Nice.
Which, is one of those great works. I mean, this is super thick for a poem, a book-length poem, but yeah, it's one of those, that he wrote basically until he died. That it was just one of those poems that he just kept on writing, kind of like, the way Wordsworth wrote the Prelude, just like chipped away at it.
Yeah.
Like a massive tome. But yeah, what's beautiful about the poem, actually, just to make that comparison to the film, because it definitely highlights the waterfalls a lot. Like, that's a big
there you go.
Of it.
Nice.
But the book is, some of it is in verse, then some of it is more prose, and it even has like these strange like historical anecdotes.
Cool.
As well, so it's all tied in.
Wow.
Somehow. Yeah, and it's funny towards the end of the film that I guess does he have a name, the Japanese poet? We said he's reading the translation.
I was like waiting for them to introduce themselves, and they didn't, so I don't know.
Yeah. He just says,
Yeah.
Excuse me. Their last changed.
Honestly, it's kind of Ron Padgett vibed, an interjection, interjection of daily conversation.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then, I guess one of my favorite moments in the film is after the 10-year-old girl reads Waterfalls, that smile that she has, like that satisfaction. Really, yeah, it still affects me, even though I hadn't seen it in a while. Like I actually welled up a little bit.
Wow. Yeah.
Smile, yeah. Did you have a favorite scene in the film?
Ooh, let me think. I mean, I liked when he was hearing the bus passengers have their little conversations in their daily lives. I really liked that. I really liked the scene with the Japanese poet. Obviously, I have a soft spot for the dog content, but I also have sort of a question, I guess, about how this sort of like, I mean, it's like a contentious relationship between Paterson and Marvin.
Yes.
The dog.
I don't like you, Marvin.
Yeah. They don't like each other. The dog commits a spiteful act of destruction towards the end of the movie. And I was so interested because like in another movie, it would be sort of like the red flag that like their relationship was not working out.
Right.
But that's not how this ends up, and it also doesn't really end up like altering Paterson's relationship to his poetry work, which in another movie it might have been like, oh no, my work, like how could I ever possibly.
Right. He was pretty down about it, and
he was
the Japanese poet encounter definitely shifted that because he was gifted a beautiful notebook with a bamboo spine.
Yeah, that was cool.
So yeah, Marvin's gonna have a lot more trouble trying to chew through that.
Damn, I don't know those bulldogs, man. They can. Yeah, they're jacked. What was that guy in the car saying?
Yeah, no, don't get dog jacked, Coachy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are expensive dogs.
That's what he was saying. Okay, that's so funny. But
funny.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of humor with all the Marvin stuff, but it was also like he kind of the antagonist to Paterson.
Yeah, Marvin is the secret villain of the film. He really is.
Which What? I mean, Paterson takes him to that bar every night and ties him up outside for like how long?
Yeah, and then eventually
out in the dark,
just hunched down like that.
Yeah.
And then he also appreciates Method Man's bars.
True.
At the laundromat.
So he's not fully against poetry.
Yeah, no. But
he just hates Paterson.
So yeah, I guess that's the
Paterson dream, right?
The film, yeah. It may, like on the surface, represent an ideal of a relationship, but there are those things that are going on in the undercurrent, which goes to show that, these are differences that you're going to have to overcome. And I guess this is something that I know from the personal aspect of Jim Jarmusch with this film. So it is based on his relationship with Sarah Driver. He's been with forever, because she produced his early films, and even you can see it reflected in the relationship between Paterson and Laura. One person basically has to make a sacrifice in order for the other one to thrive artistically and creatively. So one has to have that normal job, and then the other one is able to create. So that's what happened between Jim Jarmusch and Sarah Driver, because Sarah Driver was also a filmmaker, and she had made, I think, 4 films.
Yeah.
And, they're getting appreciated now, but back then, they kind of just disappeared in obscurity. And part of that was because Sarah Driver was dedicating most of her energy and her time to help Jim Jarmusch get his films out there. So she sacrificed her career as a filmmaker in order to help him. But they've stayed together since then. But also, the thing about, being together for so long, and I don't know, actually, that's the other thing too. It's not clear if they're married. Maybe they're not. They're just like a long-term couple. couple.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that they've never actually gotten married. But yeah, so this one is a little more hearsay that apparently there was a time that they had kind of fallen out with each other.
Mm.
That's also reflected in the film, that they had a dark period.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then I guess they found each other again, and so this is the film where it's kind of his tribute to her. And
Okay, interesting.
each other, yeah, because there's other personal aspects as well, like the that was also known about Jim Jarmusch and Sarah Driver, was that if you wanted to get in touch with Jim Jarmusch, you had to contact Sarah because Jim Jarmusch didn't have a smartphone. He didn't apparently have an email address. So
wow,
you had to contact Sarah Driver to get in touch with him. So she did all the tech stuff, and then he was the analog guy who didn't have a smartphone. But he kind of he tipped his hand one time when I was watching a Q&A with him, where he mentioned that sometimes he just walks around, and then he said this specifically, that he would take out his iPhone and then record sounds. So he does have a smartphone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Maybe he's since gotten one.
Yeah, or it would be funny if he had the smartphone, but he only used it for other capabilities and not.
Oh yeah, right.
Like he basically had an iPod Touch, R.I.P. the iPod Touch.
Right. Oh wow.
Yeah, that was like my entry into iPhones.
Hell yeah.
iPod Touch, yeah, because it was great. You just had to have Wi-Fi it, but it had all the same capabilities. It took photos.
Yeah.
Good.
That was clutch.
But yeah, so there's all these personal aspects of Jarmusch in there, and even if you didn't know this, you can still appreciate the film for what it is. But I think it also helps contextualize a lot of the, the simmering undercurrent.
It does. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm not sure if if they did have a dog, and the dog was another point of contention between them. And yeah, you found out sadly that Nellie, Marvin, that passed away, and the film is dedicated to her.
She was a great dog actor.
Yeah, great performance. The grunts, were just perfectly timed.
Oh man, love it.
Yeah. So I know, Madeline, you don't give star ratings, but if you did, where would Paterson be?
Pretty high, I would say. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful, contemplative, warm movie. I think it does a great job at creating a very specific milieu. And yeah, I mean, it reminds you that the place poetry can have in anyone's life, any type of person.
Right.
I think that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And
high up there.
Awesome. It earns a heart.
Heart, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't changed for me. It's still 5 stars. But I will say this viewing, and because it was in close proximity with Stranger Than Paradise, I think it's now overtaken Stranger Than Paradise as my favorite.
Whoa! Wow! All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the one that I revisit the most. I can just watch it anytime. Put it on the background, to tie into pumpkin movies. That would be my film playing while I'm at Skype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's just because of, and I've even come to terms with that it takes place over the course of a week in his life, and there was originally a part of me that if I were to nitpick and like change something in the film, it would be that Marvin doesn't destroy the notebook. Why was that necessary as
I know.
Yeah. A narrative event.
Right, because the conflict already, not conflict, but the sort of point that they were seeing if it would happen or do anything was he going to get his poems out to other people to let them be read,
right,
be experienced?
Yeah, had that not occurred in the film, like it would have been interesting to just see that, oh, the week ended, but he still didn't make a copy.
Right.
You know, because that is one of the other things that's a little heavy-handedly done in the film is they go out of their way to show that he left the notebook on the couch. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I even on like other theatrical viewings, I've had audience members gasp because they know that that was happening, that Marvin was gonna.
Damn.
But yeah, other than that, I've come to terms with that too. That, you know, that it is part of his journey, and that, you know, it leads him to start anew. And even though the poems have vanished, they're still there in the film because we get to experience it. And then, you know, the other like piece of trivia that I like is that the text that we see of the poems is actually, they created a font that was based on Adam Driver's penmanship.
Yeah. Wow. Which, I mean, I assume they neatened it up for the font, but still, that's pretty neat handwriting.
Yeah. So Adam Driver has his own font.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's basically it. I think Paterson, still a great film, and I was happy that I was able to share it with you. And
thank you. It was so nice.
And you're now officially our first guest on Race Against the Watch List.
Yes.
And yeah, let's definitely do this again. Let's do another watch party.
I'm ready. Sweet. Okay.
So yeah, Madeline, what is your letterbox?
Like the handle?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Can people just look up your name? You're the only Madeline
yes.
Burg.
They can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me just check that out. Yep.
Yeah.
Madeline Burg. That's me.
Yeah, and I highly recommend your reviews to people because you're basically the perfect balance of, you can write something very insightful but also very funny. You have that tongue-in-cheek, jokey aspect to your reviews that I enjoy.
Thanks.
Yeah,
just having fun.
Followers, I think.
It's nice. I mean, you know, people can do whatever they want, but I'm just vibing over on my own account.
Yeah, definitely give Madeline a follow. Madeline Burg with a U. B-U-R-G.
True. B-U-R-G.
All right. Awesome, Madeline.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.